What is a budget? What are the university funding sources, and where do they come from? How does the university spend its resources? When does it all come together? Welcome to University 101. My name is Matias Farré, AVP for Business and Finance, and joining me today is Randy Duncan, University Budget Director. In this fast-paced video, we'll provide an overview of key aspects of our budget with the goal to increase your understanding and better prepare you to engage in budget conversations. So let's get started. Budget is typically defined as a plan, a forecast, an estimate of anticipated revenues and expenses over a period of time. We like to define budget as a map that guides our university in its journey to carry out our mission. It is said that if you're interested in learning about university priorities, then you should review its budget. Base versus one-time. Base budget refers to funds that cover ongoing recurring activities, such as our permanent salaries and benefits. Conversely, one-time refers to the portion of our budget that covers non-recurring activities, such as special projects. Carry forward balances refers to unspent budget resources at the end of a fiscal year. This doesn't mean that they don't have an intended use, as they are typically designated for various purposes, including reserves for economic uncertainty. Funding sources. We like to refer to our funding sources as a three-legged stool. The legs of this stool are comprised of student tuition and fees, state appropriation, and other funding. Other funding refers to auxiliary units such as university corporation and foundation, and self-support activities such as external learning, parking, and housing. We want to pay special attention to two funding sources, state appropriation and student tuition and fees, because they make up what we call our operating fund. The operating fund is the budget that supports the university's ongoing core activities. Let's take a deeper dive into state appropriation, beginning with the timeline of events, something we call our budget cycle. The California process is complex and requires time for development, enactment, and administration. It takes almost 1 year from the time that the initial request is put forward by the CSU Board of Trustees until the final allocations are made to campuses. Perhaps one of the most important milestones is in late June, when the budget bill becomes law and it's signed by the governor. It is also important to understand that the state budget addresses various state priorities, including health and human services, K through 12, and of course, higher education. So here's a visual to show how the budget from the state of California funnels all the way down to our university. Important to the state funding is the CSU Multi-Year Compact. The CSU Compact is an agreement between the CSU and the Newsom administration to prioritize the advancement of shared goals over a 5-year term starting in 22-23. To facilitate progress towards these goals, the compact reflects a commitment to pursue predictable investments in the CSU, with the expectation to provide a 5% annual general fund increase for the term of the compact.
Next, I'm going to talk more about student tuition and fees portion of the operating fund sources of funding that Matias spoke about earlier. All tuition and fees driven by student headcount, students walking around the campus. Where student tuition varies, student residency impacts tuition where all students pay resident tuition and non-resident students pay an additional per unit charge. Then tuition rates further vary by class level, undergraduate, credential, and graduate. Then further broken down by part-time and full-time. Again, referring to the sources of funding for our main operating fund shown earlier, which includes state appropriation in blue, sometimes referred to as state general fund, and student tuition and fees noted here in red. Note that the current year, the split is planned to be 57.3% for state appropriation and 42.7% from student tuition and fees, again, as shown earlier in the pie chart. Also note, starting in approximately 2018-19, this split has widened in favor of state appropriation as a percentage of this total. And this historical split roughly approximates the CSU as a whole. Next are the expenditure proportions of the operating fund. With expenditure proportions of the operating fund's largest components being salaries and benefits at 77%, all spent on our people. With additional expenditures shown here for support areas like utilities, insurance, IT, supplies, and student financial aid. Finally, we wanted to share the resources available for our campus community. The CSU Financial Transparency Portal is an interactive tool designed to understand operations and performance of the CSU and individual campuses by reviewing revenues, expenses, fund balances, trends, and other data. We highly encourage our campus community to use and let us know if you have any questions. Also included is a link to the Budget Office website where you may find information relevant to our budget process and reports. Thank you for attending.